I'm Norma Shephard, director of the Mobile Millinery Museum and the author of 5 books on vintage fashion. If you're joining me for the first time, this is a hat chat wherein we dig into the archives and show various aspects of historic millinery. With this being Canada Day, I want to show some Victorian bonnets. Confederation was in 1867. That's smack dab in the middle of the Victorian era. So the hats I'm going to show you today are from that era, not necessarily circa 1867 exactly, but Queen Victoria's reign was from 1837 to 1901. And the hats, of course, spanned many decades and were of various styles. And each individual hat, of course, would be distinct in itself because no woman ever wanted to be seen with someone else wearing the same hat. So that's the great, one of the great joys of millinery and of hats. So I'm just going to sort of date them as to mid, early, or late Victorian for you. So let's get started. This one is quite an interesting one, and this one is from the Mid-Victorian era, almost looks like a saddle, and this is fashioned on a wire rim. So it would have been circular originally, almost like a large pizza pan shape, and then these wires are bent up to make this saddle effect. Now this is the front, so it would have quite a large under brim to frame the face, and these were often worn with little white or black crocheted or lace caps underneath, which could be washed, and then it would protect the hat itself. And it also added a little bit of softening around the face. Now I'm going to show you the this gauze that decorates the underbrim, which is a little different from the straw, the horsehair straw, which is done in bands on the hat proper. So that's very typical of the Mid-Victorian period. They actually did for quite some time use hair from the tail and mane of horses, strengthening it with linen or cotton fibers to give it some substance. Now these are the original ties, and they're symmetrical, although they are obviously damaged. They're silk, and the silks tended to shred. But I want to show you the little trimming on the edges of the ribbon. Now I mentioned that the ribbons are symmetrical because there was a time when the bonnets would be tied under the chin and off to the side, and so one ribbon or tie would be longer than the other, so that once it was tied in the bow, the ends would meet. So that's not the case with this particular one, but I think it's a wonderful piece. Now another piece, and of course keep in mind that the styles would be they would be changing according to primarily French fashion, although the royal family was setting trends as well in London. But also the bonnets would be chosen according to time of day, your age, the activity that you were participating in. Some of them might be church hats, others might be traveling hats. And when I say bonnets, we think of Victorian hats as all being bonnets, but they also wore hats as well. But the ones I'm showing you today are distinctly bonnets. Now this one, here's the back of it. This is quite a decorative one. This is done from a brown velvet, all done by hand, and you can see how fancy it is. It has a very narrow front of the crown, and so this would have sat quite back on the head. This would have been for a young girl, very likely. We've got some pink satin ribbon, a little bit of purple flower, and lots of beading. The ties on this bonnet are silk satin. One is hooked on a bead, so I'm not going to deal with that right now, but one of these ties is it's quite shredded, as happens with the silk. So this one as well is from the Victorian era, but earlier than the previous one. Now, for a look at another mid-Victorian bonnet. This one is done in satin, and you can see that it's the ruching, the stitching, and the folding that gives it its decorative appeal. There's nothing additional trimmed to this hat. It is part of the lining actually has come away over the years, but I want to show you the inside. This too is formed on a wire frame. The original lining has deteriorated and is gone, but you can see through to the basic form. And then this little silk mousseline pouch would have held the hair, and this style sat pretty much on the top of the crown. It has a ribbon bow at the back and then symmetrical, nice wide silk satin ribbon ties. It could have been a morning hat because there are no trims on it. It's a matte black, but this next one is very definitely, just a minute, very definitely a morning piece. It has the morning veil. Now, it too is formed on a wire frame, and you can see the lining is still intact in this one, and this one sat more at the back of the head. And you can see the attached veiling is really basically a scarf of gauze. Some of these veils were so harsh, they were made from crepe, and they were so harsh that they would damage the skin when they were worn for long periods. So that's a little hat chat about Victorian bonnets. I should mention the fascinator that I'm wearing. It's rather bonnet-like, made with black lace and vintage feathers. And this is another darling piece from BC milliner Maria Kiersick. So I hope everyone enjoys their Canada Day, and it's going to be a reflective one. This year it's a little different with the recent revelations on the residential schools. So it's a little bit more somber this year, but I thought I'd bring you a little bit of a hat chat about what the perhaps ladies of Confederation wore on their heads and other ladies from the Victorian era. Thanks for watching. If you have any topic ideas you'd like to share with me, please leave me a comment. In the meantime, hit like, share, subscribe, and have a happy day.